Settle back down. There you go. Good afternoon, everyone. As Clint said, my name is Joseph Chapman, and I am the Fall 2017 Planning Intern for Clorox. So to start off today, I'll give you a little sneak peek into my presentation. So we'll start off by talking a little bit about myself, dive into my projects and responsibilities here at Clorox, talk about the fun activities I got to get involved with, and then we'll end with some key takeaways, some special things, and then last but not least, questions. So let's start off talking a little bit about me, about myself. My hometown is Asheville, North Carolina. I say sort of because I moved around a lot as a child. Lived anywhere from Charleston, South Carolina, moved to the Bay Area near San Francisco, moved up to Pittsburgh and back to Asheville. I currently am a student at the University of Tennessee, Go Vols, where I'm studying supply chain management with a dual concentration in business analytics. And the Vols might not be ranked in football, but we're number 3 in supply chain. So if there's a supply chain playoff today, we'd be in. My anticipated graduation date is December 2018. Again, I say sort of. I actually work for the university, have the great opportunity to get my grad school paid for, so I should be on Rocky Top through 2020. Some of my hobbies, I love traveling, as you'll see in the next slide. Exercise, I'm a personal trainer back in Tennessee, and sports, very passionate about Tennessee football. See in the bottom right there, one of the 10 happier moments of my life, when it was announced that Butch Jones was out as the Tennessee head football coach. And I believe Jeremy Pruitt's going to make it feel like 98 again on Rocky Top. So I said I like to travel. Sophomore year of college, I had the opportunity to study abroad in Thailand at Kasetsart University, where I studied international agriculture and natural resources. Here are some of the more fun times I had while I was in Thailand. I got to meet Neymar, also got to feed him bananas. In the bottom left, these were the dorms we stayed at while we were in Thailand. And in the top right, you can see just a place of worship. This one was special in particular. I got to meet a monk. He splashed me with holy water, blessed me with happiness and riches. I can tell you guys today, I'm pretty happy. Still waiting on those riches, but hopefully they'll come in time. So let's dive into my projects and responsibilities as a planning intern. So yes, I'm the guy behind the daily case fill report. Just added Amazon to the course, so pretty exciting. What I really want to highlight though is the diversity of work I got to experience while I was at Clorox. I got to work a lot with the international team on especially Project Cacao. Got to do an inventory analysis for Korea, updated the Canada and UK supply validation file. I got to work with demand planning on their NMV report, logistics on their perfect order report, but most of my project work came within supply planning, specifically on Project Awakening. As you can tell, it has a Star Wars theme to it. Don't worry, I'm not a Star Wars junkie, you won't hear a bunch of puns from me. Alright, so what is Project Awakening? In the broadest sense, Project Awakening is a planning capabilities group led review of inventory policy. There's 2 main goals. We want to reduce projected inventory and target total inventory, as well as drive down that gap between projected inventory and target total inventory. When I got here to Clorox in June, our projected inventory was more than double that of our target total inventory. So how do we plan to combat this? Well, some ways are increased APO training, master data review, minimum order quantity management. We want supply planners to use smart up safety stock suggestions in lieu of planner overrides, and of course there's much, much more. My role, specifically in Project Awakening, was data tracking, transformation, and reporting. I'm the guy behind the scenes. I'm measuring our results, ensuring that Project Awakening is successful, as well as identifying areas of opportunity moving forward. So what I'm going to show you guys today is 3 files that I create that go into Project Awakening, and the first of which is the dollarized inventory analysis. So what the dollarized inventory analysis does is it displays a reflection of inventory status at a specific point in time when the data is pulled out of OB and SmartOps, and it does that by displaying end-of-month inventory projections for key planning elements that flow within APO, such as total supply, total independent demand, projected inventory, target total inventory, etc. What I also want to highlight on this dashboard tab, the dollarized, is we have 2 important ratios. The first of which is APO, which is our actual safety stock, over our SmartOps suggestion. So right now, we're carrying about 1.06 on that ratio, which means that Clorox as a whole is carrying right about what SmartOps is suggesting. Alright, the next ratio is that projected inventory over target total inventory. In the previous slide I mentioned when I got here to Clorox in June, our projected inventory is more than double that of our target total inventory. We have shrunk that gap down to 1.84. Of course, there's a lot more room for improvement, but that's great progress. So if you want to get a little more niche, you can go over to our pivot table tab. And what you can do is you can get a reflection of our inventory status by individual sub-brand, individual planner ID, or even by each individual SKU. And you can see that both in dollars and cases. So the great thing about the dollarized inventory analysis is you can see that present end-of-month inventory projections as well as looking across in the future horizon. But the pitfall about the dollarized inventory analysis is you can't see where you've come from back in the past. You can't analyze that historical data. So because of that pitfall, I decided to create what I call as a SKU analysis. And what the SKU analysis is basically just a waterfall-based file takes those previous end-of-month inventory projections from those published dollarized files and combines them into one file going forward. And what's great about the SKU analysis is now that we have that previous historical data in there, we can go back after the month has passed and pull those actuals. Because here at Clorox, we're not really concerned about those projections, we're concerned about where we actually end up at the end of the month. So it's great for supply planners because they can go in there and they can view their inventory status on a bi-weekly schedule. Currently we have this SKU analysis created for all of the individual planners within Burt's and Home Care, where Project Awakening has had its main focus. So when you're driving down inventory, what's your main concern? Are we still able to service our customers at an effective rate? So in the SKU analysis, I also track our service levels for each individual planner. So from this information on this dashboard tab of the SKU analysis, I create a results tab. So this results tab is for one of our Burt's planners, Sandy. She's a main focus of Project Awakening efforts. And what I want to tell you guys before diving into the results is that this is the same portfolio across the horizon. Same set of SKUs for each data pool. So now that you know that, let's look into some results. So let's look at our dollarized pool from 6/1. So as of June 1st, if you follow that over to end of month December, you can see we're at 3.9 million, what we were projecting for the end of month December. Now let's take that most recent dollarized pool we have on December 4th. That same portfolio, we're now projecting end of month December at 2.8 million. So that's a $1.1 million reduction in that end of month projected inventory through these efforts of Project Awakening. And with Sandy's portfolio, it actually went under Project Awakening's efforts in July, and you can see when it took effect. So if you take the projected inventory pool from 7/10 and 8/1, follow it again to the end of month on December, you can see it was at 3.3 as of 7/10, and then 2.4 as of 8/1. So that's really when Project Awakening kicked in. So, okay, these projections look great. Where did we actually end up at the end of the month? So we look at our end of month inventory actuals, and you can see for each month, Sandy's end of month inventory actual actually falls below those projections. And you're thinking, uh-oh, are we still servicing our customer at the same rate? Well, let's look at those service levels. So you can see our service levels mainly fall in the 98 to 99 percentile, which are actually great service levels. For many people that don't know the Burt's business, it's not the easiest business to service, so those are great service levels. Overall, great results. But then another thing that I mentioned was that PI-TTI gap. So let's take this same portfolio and view some of those results. So in June 2017, that PI-TTI gap for this portfolio was at approximately 1,960,000, or you could think of it as our projected inventory was 2.5 times what our target total inventory was. Let's fast forward that to December. That same portfolio, that PI-TTI gap, is now down to 1.1 million, and that ratio has shrunk to 1.64, which is about what we would expect to see after run frequency and run quantity with the plans. So the next file I wanted to go over in the last file is our SmartOps safety stock analysis. So what is SmartOps? SmartOps is a bolt-on SAP tool that when used efficiently can optimize the allocation of our safety stock inventory and drive system automation for our supply planners. So what you see here is just a pivot table snippet from the Burt's Bees safety stock analysis. On the left you see in cases, the right dollars. MIPO represents our SmartOps safety stock suggestion. APO is our actual safety stock. I'm going to tell you a little bit about how we segment our safety stock. So as you can see, we have A, B, C, and Z. What I want you to think here is a Pareto analysis. So A's are 80% of the SKUs that make up the total forecast. B's are that next 15%. C, the next 5%, and Z's are SKUs that do not make up the forecast at all. So now you see high, medium, and low. What does that represent? That represents our coefficient of variation, otherwise known as the measure of relative variability. For business terms, how easy is that individual SKU to forecast? So low shows that SKU is not very volatile at all. It's pretty easy to forecast. It stays consistent across the horizon. Medium, a little bit more volatile to forecast. High, the more volatile SKUs. So you're thinking this from an opportunity standpoint. Where's that opportunity? Well, remember A is that top 80% of SKUs. Low are those least volatile SKUs. So your low-hanging fruit would be A, low. So let's look at where we are, SmartOps safety stock suggestion, compared to actual safety stock for those A lows. You can see we're actually carrying $1.2 million worth of safety stock inventory over that SmartOps suggestion. So going forward, those would be the SKUs I would want to target to lower our safety stock. So what's next for Project Awakening? So we've seen great results. We have since transitioned out of Burt's Bees into Home Care, and eventually we'll make our way through each individual business unit, and we're actually deploying a different strategy. With Burt's Bees, we met with a few planners, reviewed their entire portfolio. We're doing the exact opposite with Home Care. We're meeting with every planner approximately 15 hours, doing a few SKU review, and then letting them have control of their portfolio. So now I'm going to get into some of the fun stuff I got to do while I was here at Clorox. and that includes ERGs and volunteer opportunities. So, one of the ERGs that's very important to me was VetNet, and I got to experience that first week I was here. Got to be a part of Operation Oreo with Blake and Ruth. We got to deliver 600 pounds of Oreos to a local church. This is important to me because my dad actually served in the Army, so to see that Clorox recognizes its men and women in the armed forces is pretty remarkable. Top right, you can see me at Junior Achievement. Got to be the Chief Volunteer Officer for a group of 6th graders operating the Home Depot for the day. Bottom left, that was for show. Got to pack 500 bag lunches. And I was also on the safety committee. There's me in my orange vest. So let's go into some more Clorox activities. What I want to highlight here is plant tours. So the only time I'd been in a plant before was in Thailand. Got to go to an oil palm plant, a rubber plant there. As you can imagine, there's many differences between that and a plant here in the US. So I got to go to our Forest Park plant, got to go to the Burt's Bees plant in Durham, as well as go to Pratt Industry Tour plant. If you want to see some big machinery, go to Pratt Industry, see a 40-ton roll of paper go off the line. We got to go to Braves game, which actually got rain delayed until 10 o'clock. That was interesting. Retail day, we got to see how Clorox markets its products on the shelf compared to its competitors. Strength finders, where I got to find out that my top 2 strengths were competitive and analytical. No shocker there. Huge into sports, and I'm a business analytics major. Let's talk about some key takeaways now. First of which is soft skills are everything. Put a little asterisk next to that. I'm a quiet kid myself. I don't like to talk unless I have to. But that's not optimal in the real world. You have to be able to depend on your coworkers and seek guidance if you really want to make progress on these projects. Next is be aware of the big picture. I like to relate this back to Product Awakening. It's not just one planner or one portfolio that's going to make a huge impact on our inventory as a whole. It's every planner in each individual business unit that's going to end up making that huge impact on the bottom line. Last but not least, knowledge of the job. The White Street said it best. People learn in many ways, but experience is the best teacher. And someone once told me that 5% of what you learn in school is going to be applicable to the job you have in the future. And I think that's true. You can learn all the critical thinking skills and all that from school, but you don't experience the systems such as SAP, OB, and SmartOffice until you actually get here on the job. And now having that exposure to those systems, I think I'll be a lot more successful with whatever career path I choose to go in the future. So last but not least, I'd just like to give some special thanks. First, Joanna Keenan and Ruth Pecci got split time as my bosses. They're both great leaders, so thank you very much. Chris Browning and Jim Brookshire and PCG gave me the bulk of my project work, and they definitely guided me along the way. Jamie and International, Larissa for recruiting me, and then everyone else in Clorox who made my internship great. Didn't want to leave anyone out, so I made sure to encompass everyone with that last bullet point. And with that, I'll open the floor for any questions.